Hello again, audience. It's Maureen Wit, your Student Services Manager at MCG Career College. I have a special guest sitting here with me today. We are coming to you from our Calgary campus, and we really want to impact you in making significant changes in your life. So my special guest today is from the National Financial Literacy Campaign, and you are?
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to this conversation. My name is Ifeoma Ngwudike, and I'm really excited to be here today with Maureen to talk to you about financial literacy.
You're listening to the MCG Connector podcast.
So we had the luxury of meeting each other at another event, and I spent probably 5 minutes networking with you, and I walked away and said, oh my God, I need to have you on my podcast. So we made the arrangements, we met. Do you know that Ifeoma has so many goals on how to impact families, impact students, impact everybody? So why don't you tell us about your goal that you have with your campaign?
Absolutely. So it's a national financial literacy campaign, and the entire campaign itself, we have a goal of educating 30 million people by the year 2030, both in Canada and the US.
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's exciting.
That's a massive goal. And I personally, I have chosen that out of that 30 million this year, I want to educate 500 families or individuals in Canada myself.
Wow, that is exciting. Good for you. I love it. I love the fact that you've set yourself a goal. We all have to set goals.
Yes.
So why don't you explain to us on how you're going to reach that goal? So I know you've been very busy with lots of different events and taking that time, and I really appreciate it because I hear from our students here at MCG is they have stressors of academic studies and things like that, but one of the biggest stressors is managing their finances. So if you can maybe just explain what is it that you do in offering, and then we'll kind of dive down into what are our students' needs. So go ahead.
Absolutely. So one of the words that I hear you say is stressed. Mm-hmm. Right? And overwhelmed. And you know what causes us to be overwhelmed and stressed sometimes? It's when we are not sure, mm-hmm. when we don't feel confident.
Right.
And when it comes to money, right? A lot of us have many thoughts about money. Sometimes they are not really positive thoughts. We are stressed about money and financial issues. And that's because we don't really know how things work, right? And so with the campaign, really, the very big goal is to actually bring that financial literacy education to people.
So the impacts that stress has on families regarding their finances. So what can we do to maybe relieve some of that stress? Because that stressor is huge for everybody, all ages. Anybody that's working, some people might have 3 jobs, they might have 2 jobs, but stress is a huge factor. So can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. Indeed, stress is really something that weighs down on people. It feels like that emotional, mental energy that is negative that really draws people, and they cannot really focus on what they need to do to be able to get themselves out of a situation. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to finances, the big part of that stressor is actually not knowing, which is part of why we're doing this financial literacy campaign. Because if you think about it, when you really know something, it builds up your confidence, right? And then you can get out of that flight zone mm-hmm. where you're able to just relax and say, what do I need to do? Because you know what to do. But a lot of us do not know how money works, really. And we tend to actually avoid talking about money when we have money issues, even though we should really be talking about it. And there's lots of reasons for that, including the stigma mm-hmm. that people have when it comes to the debt, that they're drowning in, or lack of financial resources, or not meeting their, goals and dreams. It can weigh on people, especially those that have families. And so they don't, if they don't share, if they don't know what to do, it just gets worse.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why.
Acknowledgement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that acknowledgement, so if I was to come to you, let's just say, and say, okay, Ifeoma, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I have a lot of stressors, I'm awake at night, and I feel like I'm just drowning. What is it that you offer that would relieve some of that? And I'm really looking for some strategies around how do I get this under control?
Absolutely. And you know what, Maureen? In fact, I do not wait for somebody to actually acknowledge, because again, what happens is when we're in that state, we actually would not be acknowledging to ourselves that we know we have a problem, but since we don't know what to do, we just kind of bury our heads in the sand. So what I do with my campaign is I start to invite people, right? Get them to be inquisitive, right? I poke people, hey, do you know anybody that is probably needing to get out of debt, or doesn't really understand how money works, or would like to see their money working for them? So that's the first thing I would always do, to get people to just kind of start listening. And then in terms of strategies on what to do, this is a big one, okay? Yes, first of all, there is going to be that education piece. But you know what? When we are educating people, it's not about using big words or even words that like budgeting that people have heard a lot of times.
Right.
But they do not do anything with it because still it's like, oh, it sounds like a diet, right?
Yeah.
You need to eat healthy, but you're not doing it, and you're like, you don't really know what to do. So it's really being able to relate with people on that level where, we're using very simple language, really acknowledging that, you're not alone. This is not something that is only you that is going through. It's actually a bigger societal problem. But hey, there's ways out. And it doesn't have to be big, massive things that people need to do. So we start with little strategies like, do you pay yourself first? Have you thought about your future?
Right.
What are your goals? Right? Because oftentimes, because we are not thinking of these things, that's why we are drowning. We don't have that focus because we don't have a vision.
Right.
Right? So it's just getting people to start thinking, what are your goals? Right? What are you doing? Because, of course, people are doing some things right. We need to remind ourselves that we know a lot of things. We're doing some things right. But maybe there's other things that we're not doing right. Right? So reminding people that they're already doing things right. So if you can do something right, like you're earning some money, hopefully, or you're looking for a job and you're going to school to increase your skills so that you can earn more, you're doing something good. But maybe you just need to learn a little bit more about how to manage your finances, make wise money choices, spending choices, but really think about your future as well.
So you've said a few things there. So when I'm thinking about students and they have chosen to return to school, come to school, to have those dreams and goals of getting that diploma, getting those degrees. The excitement is there of getting into the program, but a big part of that, I think, is what is lacking is how do they get there? How do they achieve the financial part of achieving that goal? So they go and they apply for the student loan if they need it, but there's really not a lot of thought around, well, how do I manage this student loan? So if we were to talk to students and their families, I consistently hear from people that, I'm working my 2 jobs, I'm trying to make ends meet. It's always that I'm trying to make ends meet. So can you tell me something about that? And how do we support people in building a foundation on how do you make those commitments to paying your bills while studying?
Absolutely. This is a big challenge that a lot of people are facing, right? There's lots of people living paycheck to paycheck. People are struggling to feed themselves and their families. We're not even talking about retirement here. That's too long term for some people, right? And so this is really a common problem. And I also went back to school, right, when I came to Canada. And I already had a family then. So it wasn't like when I was studying my undergrad, right, living with my parents. So I really relate to that stress of having a family, being, an adult learner, so many things to take care of, responsibilities to take care of, and not knowing how to build that financial foundation. Okay, so there are a couple of ways that we can really support adult learners and anybody really thinking towards saving their future here and becoming financially independent, being able to manage their own money themselves because they can. That's the empowerment that a lot of us are seeking. Doesn't matter how much you earn, it's about understanding the principles and how to apply them. So, for students who are doing 2 or 3 jobs, going to school, have a student loan, so that's debt, and potentially credit card debt as well, and they're wondering about all of these things, and it's impacting their mental well-being. So many things to juggle here. One of the things that we start with is, you can't fix a problem without looking at the problem. And many of us are not really looking at how we're spending our money. Some people don't even know really how much is coming in. Like, how much time am I putting in my 2-3 jobs, and what is coming in? What are the options I have that maybe I could use this time differently and actually bring in more? That's number one. We just think we should be doing, and really I don't blame anybody, because there is that need that we want to survive. Right. So you need to be able to work with somebody at this point, right? A licensed professional to help you just sit down and look at, okay, what are you doing? Okay, what are the habits that you have? Because really, to be your own money manager, you really need to look at your habits. So first of all, look at that side. Then look at your expenses, right? Where is your money leaking?
Right.
Money leaks in a lot of ways. And because we're doing so many things, right, and we're just doing, we're not very intentional. We're not even thinking about certain things. We're just, spending money because we want to comfort ourselves sometimes, or we just think we need to do these things, right? So again, is really writing things out. It's really that simple. We don't have to use the word budget if it worries anybody. But we need to really think about it. It's a simple equation. How much money is coming in and how much money is going out, right? Because if you look at that equation and at the end of the month, you're in negative, then you have a problem that you need to fix. But you wouldn't know how to fix it if you are not looking at what's coming in, what's going out. Now, if all your money or most of your money is going into servicing a debt. What do I mean by that? So if you have a student loan, you probably haven't started paying that back, but you know that, once you're done school, you're going to pay that back. So you really want to do well so that you can get a good job so that you can pay back the loan. What if you also have credit card debts, which right now you should be paying back? At least some people just make the minimum monthly payment.
Right.
At that point, you're just servicing that debt. You're not able to pay it back completely. And, even if you just had 1,000, before you know it, that debt is now 3,000. And all of this is weighing down on you. So having that opportunity to sit down and look at where you currently are, then we can work out, a management plan, a debt payment plan at that point, even including when you get to paying back your student loan. Because when you know that you have a plan to get things into place, that's already a big weight lifted out of your mind, right? So now you have a plan. Okay, plans are always not written in stone because life happens, but at least you know what to do. And usually when we talk about what to do, you need to take action. So again, making it that simple for people, we automate what we can automate to get people to work on that plan so they don't have to think about it, but it's also sustainable. And then they begin to build that consistent habit because that's what the wealthy do. They are very consistent in whatever they are doing. So if they are paying themselves first, and that everybody should be doing that, anything you earn, you pay yourself first. Okay?
So how much do you mean by pay yourself first?
Good question. Let's use this example. Let's say you're working and you're paid $20 an hour, right? And you work for 8 hours a day. Can you afford to pay yourself 30 minutes every day from that $20 an hour? So that's $10, right? So every single day you pay yourself. You're like, this is not going to be going towards any bills. It's going to go toward me, right? And so if you start creating that habit, right, of putting aside, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20%, pay yourself first, because when we say, oh, I'm going to save after I've paid my bills, well, we're living paycheck to paycheck, so there's nothing going to be left.
Right.
So pay yourself first, doesn't matter how much, because the goal is to build the consistent habit. Because guess what? If you can do it when you're earning little or when you barely have any monies, but you're putting away $1 every day or $10 every week, guess what's going to happen? When you start earning a lot more monies, you already have a habit here.
There you go.
Right? And so then you have that money, whether it's for emergencies or for any other goals that you have. Then talking about your debts, because you're now used to putting away a percentage of your money, that will be the same thing that you're going to apply towards paying down your debt quicker. Not random, okay, I'm just going to do minimum payments here. Because what if I can show you, right, how adding an extra $10 or $100 to the payments you're making towards your debt can actually not only reduce the number of months you have to pay that debt, but also the interest that you're paying towards that debt. Wouldn't you be happy to do that?
Yes.
And guess what you're going to be able to do once you reduce and shrink the number of months? That frees up all of that money for you to start saving and working towards your financial wellness, right? So it's really comes down to habits, building that consistent habit. And that's really what the wealthy do. That's all they do. Yeah.
The thing that I think that a lot of students struggle with is, obviously affordability around groceries right now, gas right now. So there's this, they might be trying to manage the two jobs while coming to school, part-time, full-time. So they're on the hamster wheel of this cycle of trying to make everything work. And they may have, 2 or 3 kids that they may have to pay for daycare or put them in summer programs for the summer. And then boom, they have the school fees coming up. So if I was that student and I'm already behind, what are some strategies that you might be able to give me around the planning around for, I hate to say it, but those school fees for parents with young children can really hurt them and hurt their pockets. So again, it's that hamster wheel of they've maybe worked 2 jobs all summer and they still are trying to make ends meet. So what advice would you give a mom, let's just say, single mom, because there is a lot of great women out there who are really trying to change their lives, reset the generation of wealth and in their families. So I think they really need to hear something about that.
Absolutely. And I do have, a personal story around this. I do know a single mom right now, new in Canada. She is a physician, so a medical doctor, but of course, coming into Canada has to relicense in Canada to be able to practice medicine. And so she has 4 children, single mom, and now she's working 3 jobs. needs to write her exams to be able to practice medicine. So when is she going to have the time to take care of her children, take care of herself, and pass her exams if she's doing 3 survival jobs? We call it survival or transition jobs that are barely paying minimum wage.
Right.
So that is a struggle, a real struggle, because, well, they need a roof under their head. She needs to feed her children, right? And guess what? This also would cause her to be ill a lot of times, right? Because she's stressed.
Right.
She's like working around the clock all the days. Like there is no break here,
Yeah.
right? And how is she going to pass her exams to be able to work as a medical doctor in Canada? Right. So what I have done with this lady that I met is, first of all, we sat down to go through things. Guess what? Being alone and thinking through these things yourself, it doesn't let you expand
Right.
your thinking. You don't see what you can't think of, right? You only feel like, oh, this is the only way out. What I'm doing is the only way out. So I had to help her get out of that. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not in your shoes, but I can see other things that you can do here. So, of course, the first thing we did was to sit down, like I mentioned last time, to write things out, because when you see it in black and white, it really helps. Right. So we looked at her current financial situation. Okay, thankfully, she's getting the child tax benefit. So again, if you don't file your taxes, please file your taxes, even if it's 0 income. Because if you are a single mom, you probably could get child tax benefit. And that is income to support you and your children. So we sat down and looked at what is coming in. Okay, how many hours is she putting in to be able to make that amount of money? And then we looked at what are the bills she must pay. Okay, including putting aside money for herself in case of an emergency. Because guess what? If she's not able to go to work, she doesn't even earn any of those money, because they're all like temporary jobs. It's not like she has any permanent jobs, so no benefits,
Right.
you know. So we have to actually think about that. So start putting away something for emergencies. And then what is those things that she must pay for? Like, of course, the rent, the utilities. She needs to have her car, right? To be able to get around.
Yes.
So once we figure that out, we're like, okay, this is it. The rest of it, when you pass your exams, you can spend on all of these things and be able to help your family get back to at least a semblance of what their life was before you came to Canada. Canada is not a bad place, so we don't want your children or yourself to start feeling like you're drowning. So when we looked at the picture, and then I was like, can you let go of this specific job? Because one of them, we could see that really, it's like the impact it was making is not that much, but it's sucking out your energy because you're running from job to job to job. Okay, so we did that. The next thing we did is she's barely seeing her children, right? And then so I taught her how to outsource. That's something we need to do. Delegate some things. The children can help. She's, one of them is now 18 years old. Okay. So they can help to cook and organize the younger ones. So what did we do? Help to show her how she can get groceries delivered to her home. And some people may say, oh, that's expensive. No, because for her, it actually cuts down not only time, but the monies, because what she doesn't see, she doesn't buy.
I love this idea. Yep.
Yes. So these were some of the strategies we put in place, okay, for her to see that she can let go of one of the jobs and she makes enough, and using the money wisely, she can focus on creating time to actually be able to join discussion groups, go for her classes, and prepare for her own exams, because in a couple of months, she writes that exam, passes, and she doesn't need to be doing 3 survival jobs. She'll do 1 job, which is medical doctor.
What she's meant to be.
Yes, but if she's doing all these other things, she's not going to pass her exams.
No.
And then she's going to be stuck in 3 jobs, going around in circles and falling sick, right? So sometimes you just need somebody that is not as involved as you are, but it's also licensed. We don't want to go to random places like
Right.
social media because somebody's story may not apply to you.
Yeah.
So you sit down and have somebody that really cares about you, but is not as involved, really look at your situation. It's like going to the doctor. What's happening here? They're going to ask you some questions, but seeing it in black and white helps that person to help you co-strategize and plan what's going to work for you. And I can tell you right now that this person that I'm talking about, she's very excited because she is putting in the work to pass her exams. And she doesn't feel like she's missing out too much. She understands that some of the things that she has given up on in terms of her spending, that there are things that they don't need to be done, and nobody's gonna die at this
Right.
point. But she also understands that it's only for a season, right? And then of course she's not getting sick as much as she is. So that means she's able to actually go to work more often.
Right.
Right? Because when she was doing the 3 jobs and having all these thoughts, she was falling
getting ill.
sick
Yeah,
and not
stress.
getting paid.
Right.
But now, even with 2 jobs, she's managing her time better. Right? And yes, we've been able to do her financial analysis and figured out, okay, now you're putting away something for emergency. That's another weight lifted off her mental space. So she doesn't need to think about, oh, what if a child does this or something happens? Now she has money to deal with that because she's now putting away money for emergencies. That's a big weight lifted off people. And hey, don't think she's putting away like hundreds of dollars because remember, she's only doing survival jobs. But it's that habit, right? And so she's putting that child tax benefit into great use. She's putting away a little amount of money from the child tax benefit as well for her children's education because that is something that is very important to her.
Right.
Again, it doesn't matter the amount at this point. It is the habit. Because once she starts working as a doctor, she'll already has the habit and she will have the money. So these are some of the things I can say to the single women. Do not despair. It's hard to say that. I understand. But if you don't step back, invite somebody that can help you to really see the things that you're not seeing, okay? And really work with you to set a plan in place. Because again, all of this is short term. You're not going to be in school forever.
Right.
Right?
The end goal is coming.
Thank you. So doing that, is already a big weight lifted off the person. And I don't let my friend be alone because I understand again that, life always happens. So I always check in on her. And, every now and again, hey, how are things going? Of course, like sometimes like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling stressed. It feels like there's no money in the account. Okay, that's the time again I step up and support her. I'm like, okay, what are the facts here? This is what it feels like, but what are the facts? Remember, every month you get this amount from the government. We already worked out how many hours you need to do to be able to get this amount of money so that you can pay your bills and pay yourself first.
So you're putting some accountability back in there for her to friendly reminder.
Yes, because she can be stressed out when she looks at the account. She's like, oh my gosh, I don't have money. Maybe I should pick up another job. But being that I'm there to support her, like she's not reaching out to me. I reach out to her because again, there's a lot happening for her, right? And I remind her, hey, remember, you're going to be writing this exam in a couple of months and all of this will be done with. You just need to focus and pass the exam. Take a breather, Yeah.
So how does one find you?
How does one find me?
Yeah.
Well, there are several ways you can find me. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So, using my name, Ifeoma Ngwudike, you can find me on LinkedIn. Also, I have a website, and my company is called Yes to Amazing.
Yes to Amazing.
Yes.
Wow, I love it.
And do you know why I say that? Because we can all say yes to all the amazing opportunities out there, even when we feel all of these stresses.
Yeah.
And that is a shift in our mindset that happens when we say yes to amazing.
So if our students are listening, they can go to Yes to Amazing. Would there be some extra resources on there and there's a way to contact you?
They can find how to contact me. I know that, yes, there are resources, But this is also something I know when we are stressed, we are not really thinking about those resources.
Right, not a quick fix.
Yes. It's actually being able to talk to somebody right away.
Okay.
And when somebody is stressed, even if you're trying to teach them how to fish, they are not there, right? So it's like, I just need a solution to this. I'm hungry. I just need to eat right now. And like, okay, you need to, first of all, go to the farm, pick up the apples. That person is not going to listen. So resources are great for when somebody is in a calmer mode.
Right.
They're not in a flight or, or
Fight response.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They are ready. But when people are stressed up, like, having to do multiple jobs, being a student, taking care of family, lots of responsibilities, what they need is practical things that they can sit down, bite-sized, and apply and see results.
Right. So would they be able to meet with you online if they're across Canada? Because we have a lot of our students are across Canada.
Yes, absolutely. I meet with people online all the time.
Okay.
Because that's the world we live in right now.
That's the world we live in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I always, I'm hearing, I'm going to wrap things up. I always like to kind of paraphrase. So I've heard acknowledge, consistency, habits, and I loved the way you said survival jobs. And I know there's so many of our audience members right now who are in those survival jobs, and I love that yes to amazing. So we need to think and have a positive mindset when it's feeling very negative. So I always ask my guests, to end things, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Okay, so I may be nerdy, but I love to read.
Okay.
I love to read. That's what I do for fun. Just reading. Mostly these days I read nonfiction, but I also listen to a lot of stories. Sometimes I just love to observe people. It's really interesting to me because I learn a lot. I'm a reflective person. So when I have that time to just sit and like, oh, that person said that, wow. And I take it to so many places. That's what I love to do for fun. I also just love to hang out with people. So one of my love languages, my top love language for anybody that knows the love languages, is quality time. So it doesn't matter to me what the person is doing. I'm just like enjoying hanging out.
Right.
Yeah.
Just being with others.
Yes. So that's kind of what I love.
I think it's, you said that you love to read books, but you also have a book.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So in 2021, during the pandemic, I decided to write a book. And so the title of my book is The Successful Immigrant Woman.
Love it.
And in this book, I share transformational strategies that immigrant women, and frankly, anybody, but as an immigrant woman, I really love to support my community. So these strategies help women to be transformed. In what ways? To help them build confidence, because, like we talked earlier, confidence, happens when we don't know, when we are afraid.
Right.
And also it helps people to be successful, right? And to be empowered, because our journeys as immigrants, it's pretty challenging. A lot of changes are happening to us all at the same time. So we don't want to waste that opportunity. We want to be transformed through those opportunities.
So if I was to go find your book, I would find it where?
Oh, it's in Amazon.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. And one last question. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song.
Music genre.
Genre is gospel.
Gospel?
Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
Christian, so I love to listen to gospel music. It just puts me in the right place.
While you're reading your book. Love
Yes.
it. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to networking with you in the future. And again, to all of our audience members, please go to Yes to Amazing. And also check out the National Financial Literacy Campaign. And you might be able to reach out to Ifeoma and see if she can support you in your struggles. Thank you.
MCG Career College, making communities great.